our Friday night Nerd Sessions live. Joining me, as always, is Mike. Or actually, Twitch
Hello,
tonight
Internet.
for our. And Mike, it's been a long week for both of us. This is our first web show live in quite some time. So we,
Well, not really.
well,
I mean, we were live for 24 hours last week.
that's true. We were. I'm still exhausted from it. I have not caught up on my sleep whatsoever.
It was I, honestly, I watch a lot of Twitch and I watch a lot of YouTube. I watch a lot of gamers all the time. Let me take these off because glare's annoying. And I got to be honest, like, I see them do 24-hour streams and stuff. I'm like, oh, that's super easy. No problem. I could do that any day. This was hard. Like,
This was
this
my
was,
third year. This was the hardest year I've ever had, honestly. I think a lot of that has to do with my schedule now, though, because I work 10 hour shifts at my job, and I have to wake up at 4:45 in the morning. So typically by 8 or 9 o'clock at night, I'm pretty well exhausted. Which,
no, I agree. I think if we had started like late night Saturday and run through late night Sunday or something
oh
like
yeah,
that, I think it would have been much easier to power through a daytime than it was to power through the early morning hours
well, I
because those
mean,
were rough.
yeah,
Um, I also think that had we chosen a game, um, like an MMO or something like that, that's a real time chewer, I think it would have been good. I think what really made us lose momentum was the
switching
game
the games,
switching.
yeah. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, I think we needed some variety for that. Now, for those of you that weren't able to join us or have no idea what we're talking about, last weekend was the official game day for Extra Life, which is a charity that helps with Children's Miracle Network hospitals. Mike and I helped raise money for Seattle Children's Hospital because that's our local hospital for us. And together we raised a grand total, what was it, 975
Yeah,
for
so
charity.
as a team, we had some great people working with us. John, who was on our social media team, was helping out. And then we also had your friend from XBL, Xbox Live,
Yep.
with us, and he was able to raise a few hundred as well. So as a team, we did really, really well. I think we came in at what, 1280?
Yeah, 1280 as a total as a team, which you can still make donations to us if you so choose. And I mean, it's not a requirement, obviously. It is an ask if you'd like to help out the charity in any shape, way, or form. Goes to a great cause, helps the kids, and I mean, it's a great thing to really help with. This was my third year doing it. Was by far the most difficult for me, but also the most profitable for the charity in general for me. I think
I mean, yeah, it was a great year, and I loved it. We had the challenge running for the tattoo. So if we had met our goal of $1,500, I was going to get the Extra Life logo tattooed live on stream.
hmm
Um, I actually went and saw my tattoo artist on Tuesday, Johnny, over at Good Karma Tattoo in Linwood. So if you're local and you want to get a tat, he's awesome. So he was a little bummed. He was sad that we didn't make it there. He really was excited to do it, and he's willing. He's actually even reiterated for me on Tuesday. He's like, "Listen, hey, if you guys do another charity live stream, I'm game again. Let's do it. Let's meet that goal, and I'll do the tat for free. I'll do it on live stream for you." So definitely, when we do Extra Life again, it's there. So
Well, and I think even though we fell a little bit short, I think we still had a great year. I mean, I don't know if anybody actually has seen this yet because I don't think I've posted it. When you raise money as one of the people, when you sign up, you actually get some swag and there's incentive for you to kind of help raise money. Mike and I actually used a lot of that stuff to give away to you guys for making donations as thank yous. One of the things I went ahead and took upon myself because I'd actually never earned one before was a T-shirt, which actually came in the mail. Which you can see, this is the 2016 official Extra Life T-shirt. Play games, heal kids.
yeah, and it's stellar. And by the way, that picture you sent me when you received it, yeah, That needs to go on the Facebook page
Yeah, that will go live. I've been meaning to post it. It's been a hectic week for me. I know it's been a
because that
hectic
was
week for
Super
both
Cheese,
of
and it
us.
was super cool. It was good.
Cheesy's good though. Sometimes you got to
Hmm.
sell yourself.
It's been a kind of a crazy week in the world of gaming, though. Did you get Infinity War?
No, I've
No.
lost all interest in Call of Duty myself personally. I mean, I don't really have anything against it. I just don't find it entertaining anymore for me. Um, I was more of an original Call of Duty fan. I even liked the original Modern Warfare that they came up with. Um,
You know, it, the original Call of Duty. I remember back in the day. Let me get my finger out of the camera there. I remember back in the day, the original.
oh, hey, talking about
Hey,
getting your finger out of somewhere.
so I remember back in the day, the original Call of Duty LAN gaming in LAN cafes. Like that was the thing.
Oh
People did
yeah.
that, and me and my friends we would get together. We'd go down to the LAN cafe, and we would play Call of Duty, and it was awesome.
Well, I
Um,
remember doing the exact same thing. Call of Duty, the original Battlefield 1942, and then if anybody's familiar with Battlefield, there was also the Desert Combat mod, which in my opinion was probably the best thing that ever happened to that game.
1942 was a great game, though.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
that's what
it
started
was
shooters for me. I think, other than like GoldenEye from the '64.
well. I mean, that's honestly classic shooters. That's the best classic shooter of all time, like
Right.
without a doubt. Um, but yeah, 1942 was a really good game. I remember I spent hours playing that. And it was a lot of fun. So
That's kind of like what I've been doing. I've been playing Battlefield 1 like almost nonstop since it came out. Like I dropped the big bucks on it and went for the big $130 enlisted gold edition just because I've been such a big diehard Battlefield fan, and I feel like aside from Hardline, they really haven't done bad with Battlefield.
no, Battlefield's good, and I actually streamed some during the charity live stream. But man, Operations.
Yeah,
That was a
Operation.
game mode I had never played, and I got to be honest, I feel like that particular game mode kind of fell short.
Yeah, Operations really had never been done with Battlefield before. I mean, that's kind of really their first attempt at something like that. Um, we used to back in the day do something kind of similar. We actually took one of the guys who actually ran the internet cafe that I used to go to in high school. He used to make board games, and he made a game similar to like Risk or Axis versus Allies kind of scenario, and kind of used the same general map of the globe. So what we ended up doing at that time, mind you, this was 1942. I think Battlefield 2 was just around the corner, had just released kind of situation. Um, he printed up a map and basically blew it up, so it was like the size of a wall almost. And we divided up into basically 6 teams that were all I think 12 people deep, and we had weekly tournaments every week on Tuesday night, and each person or each team was given like a portion of the map that represented an actual map within the game, and then they divided all of the maps from the game into like the quote unquote real life position on the globe, and then we battled each other every week, and you got a little pin on the map, and you try to take over and eliminate the other team.
That's really cool. So we've done a couple of things similar to that. Me and my friends. So my friend Dom did. He actually wrote and created his own RPG game, like paper and
Okay.
pencil,
Yeah.
called Darwin's World. It's like a post-apocalyptic thing. It's actually really cool. And I helped him beta test. They were running a pilot for an internet-based sort of a turn-based game.
Okay.
It was very similar to that, where you would make decisions and try and capture territories, and you could work with or against other players. And it was very risk-esque, and it was really cool. I loved it actually. It was a lot of fun, and it was a good way to sort of merge that RPG style into an internet based game. So if you couldn't get together to RPG,
Yeah.
And then we did the same thing with a campaign for Warhammer 40K. So Warhammer 40K has a couple of different like scenario type things that are big battle type scenarios like that,
Okay.
where you'll capture territories. And so we did it very risk like there were five of us. We got together. We each had our own armies, and we slowly, there were different planets, and those planets had different territories. And so you could take a planet and get a spaceport and go to another planet and so forth.
Yeah.
Um, that was huge fun. That was a ton of fun. It was a great way to play a sort of a miniature based war game um, in that style. So
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that I kind of miss, like from, like even in high school and like my later middle school years, was internet cafes are kind of dead nowadays for the most part. But the one that I used to go to at that time was not just video games for the PC. I mean, they had like, I want to say like 24 or 32 computers at one point in time. I think that's where they maxed out at. They also had like Xboxes and then a PlayStation, stuff like that. Like the original Xbox was the thing. The 360 wasn't out yet. PS2 was out. I mean, they also had board games. At one point in time, they even had old cabinet games. Nothing major. Like, I mean, they were just some knockoff cheap, stuff from a local place that you can rent them from, essentially, and they maintain them, and you pay a rental fee kind of scenario.
cabinet games
Arcade.
like arcade.
Yeah.
Oh man. So the one thing on my gaming system bucket list,
Hmm.
I want to not an arcade, not like a stand-up arcade style,
Okay.
but Pac-Man had a tabletop version of Pac-Man.
You mean like so? I think I know what you're talking about. So the little cabinet that basically sat flat had the glass piece over the top of it, and it had essentially the
And
buttons and the joystick on
yeah,
the
and you
side.
would sit across from like
Yeah.
your like an opponent, right?
Yeah.
And you'd each have your own joystick,
Yep.
and you'd play Pac-Man, and the screen would sort of switch depending on who was playing.
Yeah. It changed for your point of view.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So there's a local
definitely.
place that I've been to called Another Castle Games. If you're familiar
Oh
with
yeah,
them,
yeah, yeah.
they're
Which one?
so the original store in Edmonds.
Okay,
They've kind of expanded. I don't know how long it's been since they did the expansion, but
Edmonds or Shoreline?
it's technically Edmonds.
Is it really? It's
Yeah,
it's kind of by the Whirly Ball.
it's literally like right up the street from Whirly Ball.
Nice. Okay.
They expanded at some point in time. I'm not sure when they did it. I first visited them back in June.
Yeah,
Um,
they took over like that whole strip mall, didn't they?
Essentially, yeah. I think there's like
Yeah.
one other thing in there now, besides them. But they expanded, and they have their what they call their arcade edition, which they have like I'd guess between 30 and 40 arcade cabinets in there, including pinball and the Pac-Man that you're talking about.
Right on.
Except for I
That's
think
awesome.
their version is Mrs. Pac-Man.
Well, I mean,
It's still Pac-Man.
the only difference between Pac-Man and Mrs. Pac-Man, and okay, so there's going to be some people who disagree with me here, is a bow, and that's it. Now, some people say, "Oh, the maps are a little bit different," but honestly,
They are to an extent
it's the same game, right?
when you break it down.
So, you know what? All this has made me think of
Uh oh.
is Hearts of Iron. So, have you played Hearts of Iron 4?
It sounds familiar, but I'm gonna go with no.
So, it's a sort of a risk-esque you know, World War One, World War Two type turn-based strategy game.
Okay.
In that you sort of build your troops, you choose your political affiliation, and you basically replay World War One and Two.
It sounds
Um,
vaguely familiar. I think I remember playing an early rendition of this.
we should stream this because it's a really fun game, and if you're into strategy games, and I know you are, I know I have a lot of fun with it. I have a couple friends who really enjoy that type of turn-based game. It's not quite like a hex-based game, but it's good.
Okay.
It's really really good, and we should check it out and play it
Tip-
live.
Typically, I'm not a huge fan of turn-based, but I can do it. I can make it work.
Well,
Um,
I mean It's sort of a mix between like a turn-based and an RTS.
Okay.
So you sort of control time flow a little bit in that you can pause it and then do all the things you want to do and then resume it and let time pass and then pause it and so forth.
I get what you're saying.
Or you can just let time run and just try and scramble and do it.
Okay.
But I think if you haven't played it, if you're not, if you're not playing it a lot, then it's probably something that we should probably play it a little more turn-based style, and you can sort of do that with the pause features.
I can see
So,
that.
yeah.
Well, and
Um,
I don't know.
Nest Classic. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah.
Because
Well,
that's been kind of a crazy thing this week.
yeah, that seems to be a good marketing ploy, in my opinion.
No, for sure. So it's super interesting, and we're seeing this sort of in everything right now, right?
Okay.
In that iPhone 7 launch on launch day, iPhone 7 Plus not available anywhere. Couldn't get it in an Apple store, couldn't get it at any mobile carrier. I even thought about switching carriers just so that I could have a 7 Plus on launch day. Didn't exist. They're nowhere. You can't have one on launch
No,
day.
no, no. That was just you, Mike. You were not allowed to have one at that time.
Well, fine. Maybe it was just me. But here's the thing. I attempted pre-order. They told me don't pre-order because you won't get it until mid-October.
Yeah.
The only way to get it is come in on launch day and get it. So I went and I stood in the crazy Apple lines, and they are crazy Apple lines because people who like Apple,
I've
well,
never
they're
stood in
like,
an Apple line, honestly. Like, don't get me wrong. I have an iPhone, but I've never stood in line for a phone. Like games and consoles, stuff like that. I
well,
have
okay, like I didn't
movies.
do crazy camp out night before stuff, but I was there early before the store was open, and I was only about 20 or 30th in line.
No, that's
But I
not bad.
went
That's
to the
nothing.
crazy line at the Apple store, and literally they were standing outside, walking down the line saying there's no 7 Plus. So I left that store. I went to the Verizon store. The Verizon people said, yeah, there's no 7 Plus. I went to the Sprint store. Sprint store said, we don't even have it. Like, it's not here. Like they were drooling looking at the line over at the Verizon. It was a nuts situation, right? So that happened, and then now we're seeing the same thing with the Nest Classic, right?
Basically, which seems silly to me at the same time, because it's a NES, I guess. Like, I mean, I get it.
Like
It's $60. You have 30 games preloaded, and it's HDMI compatible, so it's a little
it's
different.
it's a
But
Nest. Like that's a bad thing.
no,
That's a
no, no, not
great
at
thing,
all.
you
I
know?
love my NES. I still have two of them, plus a box full of cartridges.
Yeah, like I mean, I got my Zelda Gold Edition. Like I ain't playing. Like that's one of the best games ever. And honestly, I was just having this conversation the other day. Super Tecmo Bowl,
Okay.
one of one of the best games of all time. So good that right
Yeah.
now, Super Tecmo Bowl is an advertising campaign for NFL.
Yeah, I've seen that. Aren't they also using it for a car commercial too?
Yeah, it's a car commercial, but it's playing on all the football games
That's true.
because everybody knows it. It's one of those things that's just sort of become a part of gaming culture, right? Like everybody knows Super Tecmo Bowl. So I don't know. Like I feel like if you have people who are prepared and willing to pre-order and prepared and willing to buy your product, why not sell it to them?
On look at it this
Why not
time.
have the inventory available? Because you know that people are going to buy it.
Well, like I said, marketing ploy. Think about it in the states, especially here in the states. It's November. We have Thanksgiving in less than 2 weeks. Which day after Thanksgiving? The biggest shopping day of the year, every
Well,
year for
yeah.
Black Friday.
I
Deals everywhere. Which I don't think you'll see really a deal on this, just because it's $60. You
no,
might
yeah.
see somebody with it randomly, but I don't think it's going to be anything drastic. Maybe 10, 20
And to
bucks
be
at the
honest,
most.
it's not like it's amazing technology.
Well, no, it's
There's
old
so
technology.
many
It's
people
been
out
around
there.
for 30 years.
They got Raspberry Pis with emulators put on them. They're playing ROMs. They're playing these games already. Like
Well, and
if you have any technical know-how, you can do it. But
Well,
it's
and think
not
about it
about
like this
that.
too. The Retro Duo consoles have been out for years too now, and I mean,
Oh, for sure.
don't get me wrong. I mean, it may not be the exact same thing, but it can do the exact same thing.
I mean, I so my Nintendo eventually did die because I mean
That's why I
that's
have
the thing.
two.
And so I was out shopping. I was looking at some of those, third party sort of duo or trio even console systems.
Let me see if I can
There's
find
a
this.
there's a local gaming company called Next Level or Next Gen Games,
Okay.
one of those, and they specialize in sort of having and making and providing those retro games. So they have multiple units that will do classic NES, 64, and maybe Genesis. So I
Okay.
think all three of the cartridges. It has multiple slots built into it. And that's pretty cool, and I would probably get something about that. One of the things that's a really big selling point for me on the new classic NES is the wireless controller.
Yeah, I won't lie. I think that's pretty awesome. I also saw that they are doing the turbo controller again. The
Oh man,
big, with the joystick arcade and the
for sure.
big
Like,
old like coin size A B buttons.
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I,
I
you know,
didn't.
I had one.
I still have one.
I had a gamepad that had turbo. It had a switch, so you could turn the
Yeah.
turbo on and off.
Yeah.
Um, Lifesaver playing Super Contra.
There was
Lifesaver.
like a track and field game that I remember playing as a kid, and I used to always use the turbo controller for
Hated,
it.
I hated it so much. That is the worst game ever made. Track and
Had
field.
A B A B A B A B. Yeah.
AB, all of them. It doesn't matter which one of the events that you're doing. You're just slamming A and B as fast as you can.
Oh yeah.
Super annoying.
That's why I had the turbo controller because you could literally do like the 500-meter dash in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, what is that about? Did you know there was actually like a gamepad for that, like DDR?
Yeah,
Like
that
you could
was
buy a gamepad and you
horrible,
could
but yeah.
actually run on the gamepad and jump to do like hurdles or do like the long jump or do whatever. I never got one, but like,
I think one of my childhood best friend or whatever had one at one point in time, and I remember going over and like using it once. It was horrible. Like it was the
yeah,
most
just
god awful like accessory ever sold for a gaming system in my opinion ever at that time.
just just terrible, just a horrendous thing. So no, that's not a game I need. Duck Hunt, totally.
See,
And
and I
if they
wish
could,
that was on the list
if
of
that,
those 30 games.
well, that's the problem is HD TVs. So the way Duck Hunt worked,
Yeah, true.
it just doesn't work with TVs nowadays with the high definition and the refresh rates are so fast that you couldn't shoot the duck.
Yeah.
It's like any of those classic games that you try to play on like a new PC that were based off of like clock rates. Um, CPU clock speeds are so fast now that you have to have those. You have to have emulators built correctly to be able to play those. You have
Yeah.
to have like a DOSBox or something because those games won't play because the way clock speeds work, that everything moves so fast that you can't accomplish anything. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and there was Retro Duo also did a console, which I'm trying to find right now as we speak, that did the original Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, the Genesis, like every cartridge-based gaming system, including handhelds, in one console.
Oh,
And I'm trying
wow.
to find it. I can't find it. I found it once upon a time on ThinkGeek, and they don't have it on their site anymore. So I'm literally scavenging through Google, going, where is it? And I feel like I'm about to nerd rage and just take my keyboard and just.
So wait, so like classic NES cartridges or Game Boy cartridges too?
Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, anything that had a cartridge, essentially. I'm sure there's probably one or two systems that weren't there. I mean, even the Atari stuff was there,
Wow,
and it was all in one console. And I'm trying to find.
that's nuts. Like you'd have to have. I don't even know how many slots you'd have to have. That's a ton of slots in one cartridge in one system.
I want to say it was like 12.
That's insane. That's nuts. That's a huge console.
Here we go. Here's one of them that I found. Let me bring this up here. So, Super Nintendo, Nintendo, Super Famicom, Genesis, MD, Original Family, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance. All in one.
Wow, that's a lot. So, you know, I'm excited to be back. Uh, You know, I'm excited to be broadcasting again. I'm excited for us to be sort of up and running again. I know it was a long break. Um, Last weekend was amazing. I think it really energized both you and I both for getting back to making content for our viewers.
Oh, absolutely. For anybody that, followed us and kind of fell off with us, so to speak, a lot of stuff happened back early in the year. This whole project, if you will, started with me, with John initially last year in 2015. We kind of hit a little bumpy patch, took a hiatus temporarily, tried to, iron out some stuff, and then I took it upon myself to find Mike because we had some issues, and Mike and I kind of hit the ground running. Really, I'd say back in like what, late January, early February.
Yeah, I mean, we had a super strong start, but then I changed employers, and you know, I'm going to say the reason we fell off it was me.
I
Um,
don't I don't see all the blame going to you though.
so
I
um,
mean, there was a lot on my side too. There, life got hectic, financials got hectic. Um, I just didn't have time, and honestly, I think we bit off too much at that time because we
we
were
had
doing everything by
staff.
ourselves.
Yeah, we had no support staff. We were doing this 100% by ourselves, and we were doing a lot. We were trying to do so much with charities and you know, promotions for the page, promotions for you guys. We want to bring you guys content that you love. We want you guys to see what's going on and what we're doing. Like, you know, Kevin, you know, always says this is a labor of love. We're doing something that we love, and we want to share that experience with you guys. So, you know, we're here. We want to hear your questions. We want your feedback. We want you to be involved in what we're doing here. So if there's ever anything you want to see, we are doing our first initial relaunch podcast tomorrow.
Yep, we'll record and
And
it'll be out probably the following. I don't know, probably on Monday because it'll take us a little while to edit it all together.
you know, I was super excited and super lucky. I got to go see Doctor Strange
I've still yet to see it.
opening night. So I do have a review for that, and that's going to be up on Facebook probably by
Well,
two.
I don't think we're gonna put the reviews on the Facebook. I think we're gonna leave the Facebooks directly on the
Well,
website,
on
which
Nerd
we've
Sessions,
launched.
sorry,
Yeah.
on our new forums maybe, or as a blog post on our Nerd Sessions website. The forums launched. Oh, totally, totally spaced that. So our forums are now open.
Correct,
Um,
and they haven't been added to the toolbar yet. I'm fine tuning some stuff. It'll be done through the weekend though, so by the time the episode launches officially for the podcast, those forums will be live. The website is live. I'm constantly updating it. Mike and I are working on basically everything every day almost, or as much as we possibly can.
yeah, absolutely. And so we want to hear kind of from you guys. We want to dialogue with you. We want to interact with our viewers all the time.
Absolutely.
Uh, you know, we have John and PLK. They are managing our social media, and they're doing an amazing job. You know, they're there to bring you guys the things that you want to see. Did you see the new Valerian preview today?
I haven't yet. I saw that PLK had shared it earlier today, so I need to go check it out. Um, you
Oh
know,
my God. So,
it's supposed to be a
Valer-
Fifth Element kind of like sequel, prequel kind of scenario, right?
well, no, totally different.
Or spin off.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally different. So, but the opening sequence of it is very Fifth Element esque.
Okay.
In that you see, you know, how in Fifth Element, how he's sort of driving his taxi around and there's sort of, all these different levels of traffic and whatever, and
Yeah.
then that's sort of going on a little bit, but um, so it's a world of like 10,000 worlds or something like that. I don't know. I really don't. I've never heard anything about it. I don't know anything about it. It looks super exciting though. So there's a bunch of different terrains. There's sort of an Avatar-esque sort
Okay.
of a feel to it. Um, it looks super exciting. So I watched the preview and I immediately said, "Hey, PLK, let's get this up there for people to see because I've heard nothing about it, and I'm kind of a cinephile, like a
Well,
little
and
bit.
I think this weekend, what was it? The Arrival? Is that right? That's the name of the movie that just came out. The sci-fi movie with the
Oh,
aliens.
the new one, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Arrival,
I've been seeing
yeah.
some commercials and some adverts for that. It looks like it could be kind of interesting, in my opinion. I think I'm gonna have to go give that
It
a
might
view.
be like I just feel like
Well, it has was it Jeremy Renner, the guy who plays Hawkeye?
yeah. So Jeremy Renner's great. He also played Bourne.
Yeah, he did do that in one movie. Wasn't
Or well, I guess he wasn't born himself, but he was another
he was
member
another?
of
Yeah.
that.
Well, and he also did for the non nerdy geeky side. He did what, the Hurt Locker. That
Hurt
was
Locker,
that was
good
a great
movie,
movie.
good movie. Yeah. So, Doctor Strange, amazing movie, great comic book based movie. Benedict Cumberbatch is an amazing actor. I mean, he really is good. And if you haven't watched the Sherlock series, it is available on Netflix. Definitely check it out because he's awesome as a 20th century Sherlock Holmes, which is what the new Sherlock series on BBC was. It was sort of taking Sherlock and placing him in a modern setting.
Well, I don't know. For modern Sherlocks, you can't go better than Robert Downey Jr. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I
I don't
don't
know.
know. Like Benedict was good, and
Honestly, though, for me, like I've kind of, I don't know if I'd say boycott would be the right word, but I've kind of stayed away from the BBC just because of I'm a huge Top Gear fan and because of the whole issue with
okay. Well, I think
them.
everybody's a huge Top Gear fan. I think that was like one of their biggest draws,
Well,
right?
and I don't even remember when I started watching it. Like because here in the states, like I don't know that we really caught it until years into it. But I remember starting to watch that like towards the end of high school, and like nobody in the states had ever heard of it, and I'm literally like, oh, it's this amazing car show that comes on this channel, like, but you have to be up at like 4 in the morning to watch it.
Yeah, but the thing is, he's kind of a dick.
Oh no, Jeremy Clarkson is absolutely a dick. I
Like
mean,
he, excuse my language. I know. We try to keep it PC on this channel, but he is a real jerk, and he was over the line. And BBC didn't have a choice
oh no, they
as a
had an
company.
absolute choice as a company.
No, they didn't. They didn't have a choice. He was rude to his producers, and he was just downright foul.
No, I'm not going to deny that.
And they had to support. I mean, had they had they gone the other route and supported him, they would have ended up with a huge lawsuit that went crazy.
I think they
So,
should have just settled it
I
behind the
get the
scenes between the
corporate
two
side
of
of
them.
it. Like, I get it. They had to do something. I think letting him go was the worst thing they could do for the program.
Yeah,
Totally.
I think that was probably the worst thing they've ever done because
Well, actually, that's not true. The worst thing they could do is launch Top Gear America, which is terrible, and then follow that up a year later by firing Jeremy Clarkson.
well,
So,
look at what they did with the relaunch too of Top Gear. They hired the worst host ever who literally spent 4 hours a day working on this. Four
yeah,
hours. How do you? I don't think I even spend that little amount of time on something I do in my personal life.
yeah, no, for sure. And interesting that you say that. That's part of the reason that things got nuts with us is that we just dedicated ourselves so much to the podcast that literally we just kind of burned out a little bit. So,
Yeah,
our goal to you right now as viewers, is that we are going to really commit to this. We have a good support staff in place, and we're going to make sure that that doesn't happen again.
and we're going to
We're going
continue to grow.
to regular, steady content that you can rely on. And part of that is these Friday night, live streams. We're just going to come on and we're going to talk. We're going to talk with you. We're going to talk with each other. We're going to talk about our weeks. We're going to talk about what's coming up with the show, what's coming up with our events. And this is just going to kind of be a sounding board, a place for us
Yeah.
all to hang out.
It's going to be kind
So,
of separate from the podcast. I mean, I'm sure we'll touch base on some topics here and there that will cross over, but I think really the goal for Mike and I with this particular portion of it is to interact with you as our listeners, our followers, whatever you want to call yourselves. I mean, if you have a name that you want to come up with, that's cool. Like, we want to give you an outlook to actually converse with us live in some form or fashion. Granted, there is, like a 15, 30-second delay when streaming, but I mean, interact with us on Facebook. Mike and I are always monitoring it, as well as PLK and John. They're constantly monitoring it. Same with Twitter. Twitter, you can tweet at us if you want. We'll answer any questions. Once the forums go up, you can also chat with us there. When we're streaming live on Twitch, please join in the chat. We'll answer any questions. If
absolutely. That's what makes this fun. And we want to do this sort of together,
yeah, absolutely.
the Nerd Sessions group. And whether you follow us on Facebook or you follow us on Twitch, or you hang out and contribute to the charity events that we do, whatever it is, this one of the things the reason we felt we needed to launch like this live stream Friday night thing is that part of the thing that we loved most about doing the podcast was the prep, was
Yeah.
the hanging out, just talking about things.
Well, I think even let's see, then and even now that we're kind of getting back into the swing of things, we spend like 2, 3, 4 hours at a time just
Yeah.
conversing.
So yeah, totally. So we're gonna put together a 30 to 40 minute podcast. We will literally sit and just chat for like 2 hours about what we're gonna talk about on the podcast.
You guys
So
hear maybe, I'd say what, probably 25% of what we
yeah,
actually
easy,
talk about.
easy. 25% of what we actually do to get ready to put together the podcast for you. So, and we thought you might like to enjoy seeing some of that stuff. So
So I know we are going to make the show here on Twitch a regular thing for us. We're going to do it on Friday nights. I think we're typically probably looking at, I don't know, about 9:30 Pacific time.
yeah, I mean, it sort of depends. We
We'll come up with a firm schedule for sure,
with
though.
a firm schedule for that, and we'll definitely get that put together on the on our nerdsessions.com,
Yep.
as well as on our Facebook. And we'll probably post it in our Twitch schedule as well. So
Yeah, we'll update all the information. I mean, if you have any questions, you want to see some previous episodes, the SoundCloud is currently the last 2 episodes are live right now. That will change here shortly once it's all set back up correctly. I think that's really the last step that we have for kind of the full relaunch, so to speak.
and now that we have our website up and running, we have RSS. We're going to go ahead and get set up on iTunes.
Yes,
So
that is another stepping stone for us is iTunes. That will be coming. We'll give a nice announcement when that happens. You know, I think really my only ask is if you guys, enjoy this, you want to follow us, great. We want to hear from you guys, no matter what the topic may be. I mean, if you have constructive criticism, input, opinions, you just want to ask us a question, nerdsessions.com, Facebook, you can tweet at us. If you just want to listen to some past episodes, head over to SoundCloud once that's all set back up. You know, we want to hear from you guys. We want to, provide you with entertainment that you enjoy because we want you guys to enjoy what we do for you while we enjoy making this content.
yeah, absolutely. So I mean, part of the reason we do this is that we want to interact with you guys. Um, so be heard. We're here to talk to you. We want to interact with you. So if we're out here and we're doing this and we're putting it up and something's just not jiving, you don't like it don't feel natural, whatever, let us know. We can tweak it. We'll take it out if it's not content you're interested in. We've come up with some pretty big format changes. Um, we were kind of all over the place on what we were supporting before.
Yeah.
Uh, Now we're really just going to be focusing on the things that we both agree that we both really love, and that's going to be the movie reviews and the game reviews, and that's kind of where we're going to live. Um,
Well, and I think too, like not just review wise, I think content wise for the podcast too. I think we're going to kind of step back from a couple topics a little bit, just because it's something Mike and I may not necessarily not be passionate about, but something that we don't really follow enough to be knowledgeable enough to pass information off, and we
yeah,
don't
we
want to
don't
give you
feel
guys
that we're
false information.
experts. Yeah, we just don't feel we're experts in that field, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we felt that sometimes we would get into a subject, we'd be talking about it. It would be a lot of hypothetical,
Yeah, that's
just
true.
nothing that we had a lot of true passion and feeling for, or that we didn't feel knowledgeable enough to sort of educate or advise on. So we're going to step back from those things a little bit, and we're going to focus on what we know.
And I think
Um,
we'll have topics on like the forums and stuff, so as we grow as a community, if any, as more and more people kind of get on board with us, we'll have interactions and stuff via the forums for a lot of the content that we may not bring to the podcast. And, you know, Mike and I will probably learn a lot of new things, and maybe at some point we may even venture into some of those into the podcast, into episodes, or even here on the live stream, the weekly stream.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that about does it for me for tonight,
Yeah,
Kev.
we've been live for about an hour, so I think we're off to a good start. We hope everybody gets back with us. Again, we apologize for the hiatus for so long. We are coming back strong. I think Mike and I have really worked out a lot of the kinks, so we're looking forward to providing new content and new adventures.
Man, I am so tired right now. I'm looking at myself in the camera. It looks like I'm high.
You
Like my eyes are just like slits.
you know when you
So,
looked really tired was when you tried to play Star Wars last weekend.
oh my God, it was so brutal. I was so tired.
You, or no, it was the Minecraft. You started playing Minecraft. You had your camera on. You looked okay. You looked like you were getting tired, and then you started playing Minecraft, and 15 minutes goes by, and then Minecraft goes down. Camera comes back up. Now your hat's all crooked, and you just look like you're like done.
I was so frustrated because Minecraft was giving me such a hard time, and I was just like, ah. So
All
yeah.
right. Well,
Well, hey,
Mike.